Hi, my name is Ilona with Palate Exposure, and we're here in Windsor, California, with Krisztian Karkus, chef owner of Tisza Bistro. It's nice to be with you.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
You have quite an unusual background. I have followed you since Meritage Resort in Napa Valley, and I know that your food is very, very special. I want to delve into your background a bit. Where did it all begin? Tell us about your birthplace, your early inspirations, how'd you get into food? I want to know it all.
Okay. I was born in Hungary. I'm Hungarian. I was born in Hungary. Back in then there was behind the Iron Curtain, Russian-occupied Hungary. I was born into a family with my father was an artist and he painted beautiful murals and then I think for some part of his life he, like every artist is somewhat insane, level of insanity required to be an artist. And
absolutely.
And then my basically our family was very traditional. My grandmother come from the villages and they used to farmers and they always had good meal at the table. That was very, very important. We always had the Sunday dinners or lunches, and then when most of the time we always had the consommé, like a hand consommé, like that's when they did the chicken soup, the American chicken soup. Actually, it's when the best fit was always not a chicken. They or the old hens because it take a long time to cook. So there is much better flavor those older chickens have.
Patient food. Slow food.
Yeah, like I remember my grandma used to have like she get up on Sunday like really early and then he had the stove in the kitchen and then she always said when they cook the chicken and on a hen and they always say this, when it's boiling it's not boiling it's curdling. So when the fat was the boiling it's just like a little pearls coming up to the top of the soup. So that was just like the soup has to be like it sounds weird because I translated from Hungarian to English, but it's creates a pearls, and then it's cooked like 4 or 5 hours. And I remember she handmade the very thin pasta. It's almost like an angel hair pasta, but even thinner. And then she folded the dough. And then she had a knife, she cut the dough with a knife. So she used to have a cutting board, and then the cutting board had like an indentation, so like it wasn't flat because she always cut the pasta in the same spot. So eventually after years, there was like have a little like a well in that. So it was always very important, the food, and that there was like something like you have lunchtime, you have to sit down for lunch. If you don't sit down for lunch, you're not gonna get eat. Not like that, but even like. If you don't want to eat, you still have to sit down for lunch. Like you have to sit there and don't eat, with kids. And I don't want to sit down, I want to do this, but we have to sit down. And so back to that hand consommé, we had. So obviously they cooked the hen, and you eat the broth with the fresh cooked pasta in it. The very thin pasta. And then remember we always liked that. Like I have a lot of pasta, sometimes a little pasta. And also the meat course, is always was the meat of the hen. So they put them in a bowl, like a big porcelain vessel, and then they usually make either like a rich tomato sauce with it, or I think it's boysenberry with a green stripe. I think boysenberry sauce is very tart and tangy, and then
gooseberry maybe.
No, boysenberry.
Really?
Yeah, and then maybe gooseberry. Yeah, and then we usually that was your second course, and the third course was either like schnitzel or fried chicken, or depends on what was the season. Then every season had its own meals, and every holiday had its own dishes. So it's played very important part of our life, like what you eat. I remember you cannot buy strawberries in summer. I mean, in winter.
Yes.
So there was no strawberries in winter and so forth. So you when you try to please your family during the winter, you have to get creative. So that's what our chefs' creativity. I think Europe come from this older world, but when I worked in beautiful restaurants in Budapest, and I remember the chefs has to like crack their head during the winter time, so what we're gonna cook, because they have to make the week. They used to write weekly menu, so that was with handwritten, with a carbon copy on top of each other, and then it literally, and it was just something, when those scarce times required more creativity from the chef, ingenuity, and then so that's what you come your queens, your chestnuts, your potatoes, what you can create with potatoes, simple items, carrots, it's just I think that's what missing a little bit of today's cooking. We're not forced to live with the nature, because we can buy raspberries in January. That's for us. It's still today. If you go back to Hungary and tell my friend like, oh, you guys now you can buy a strawberry raspberry in January. We come from Spain or North Africa or whatever. But general public still don't buy it because it doesn't taste like when the real summer strawberries. They're so accustomed to that quality of flavors of the fruit and vegetable produce. Just you can't really sell for general public. I think just something like a curiosity, something just a fancy things, to enjoy, maybe indulge in it. But I remember like 2 years ago I went to my mother's pantry, and then Hungary famous from because we have perfect climate for peaches and apricots. The Hungarian apricot is very famous, and then I remember I went to her pantry, and she had a basket. She always has a pantry, like a separate pantry, when she stores all your jars, and they preserve during the summertime when you have so much fruit. They preserve them, and then they make jams and whatever they do with it. And then I remember she had a basket of apricots, and then I just I was here. I mean, even in the United States, you get used to see these perfect fruits and good looking, and then those apricots looked like almost like the size of if you know what a almond look like in a shell, like unshelled almond, like a little hard, like they wasn't not peeling to the eyes, but I bite into them. It was just an orchestral flavors, just
my mouth is watering.
Like exploded, like when we went to wine tasting, a couple of weeks ago with you, and then you introduced me some wine. It's just like some of the wines just give your mind and go into a journey.
Yes.
Like all these levels of flavor and complexity goes into it. And I was just dumbfounded as a chef in my mother's pantry to have these gorgeous apricot, ugly apricot, but essentially when you have she had to make a tart with it, she literally, that apricot, you have to do nothing with it. It's a sin even do anything with it. Just put on your tart and just bake it, and then your apricots will do the work.
Wow. So clearly you gleaned a ton of inspiration by what you were surrounded by growing up, and watching your grandma cook in the kitchen every day and produce this mouth-watering dishes, literally from scratch. That had to have influenced you a great deal.
It does, yeah. I think my mother was more influential, but essentially, I always searched. When I was growing up chef, I always went from trying to different style of cooking, and then I somehow we always bended back to what I come from. So this is what we come in the full circle with Tisza. So it's kind of like I was thinking about when chefs try to we all try to belong somewhere or somehow belong something, and then I think what we embrace here and how we come with full circle with the restaurant, I do not want it to be follow or be somebody else. I try to go back to the experiences, and I recommend it for all the chefs to try to go back where he comes from, because that's when your food comes from that heart. You pour the soul to it. It's make you original, make you different than anybody else.
No, it's so true. Embracing your background and really translating it. I think that's what sets you apart so much. I want to dive for just a moment into your culinary background. I know you worked in some really illustrious restaurants around the world while you were honing your skill set. So tell us about that.
Okay, I went to culinary school. A lot of this inspiration I got from from my family, and then actually my mother. Finally, I think that was the final draw to start culinary school in Hungary. But the culinary school I used to work when you're a student in Europe, you have to work 1 week, work in a real kitchen, and in 1 week you cook in the school, and I used to work for it's called Grand Hotel Astoria Budapest, one of those 18th century old world kitchens. That's when I grew up, and then eventually when I went to work for probably the best chef he was a chef de chef in Europe. His gorgeous kitchen was first. I started there. It was like copper pans and it's very old world, like railings and pots, and you will see it in like a cartoon, just you see like in a Julia Child world, that's where we grew up. And by age of 24, I was they called me the rising star, and then I won some competition cooking, so I have a chance to go work with Paul Bocuse. That was the first prize to win this young cooks competition.
Yes.
So first and second place had a little internship with Paul Bocuse. So yeah, and then later on I traveled a lot. I felt the urge to explore different things around the world. The culinary was always my culinary skills was always like a common language between continents and people and worlds, and it was just so easy. And then I just love to be in just travel around the world, and I still find today a great connection with when I met with people with different background to experience how they live, what they eat. Whenever we travel to different countries, I love to go to grocery stores. So like I love to see what people buy. Every country I have to go to the grocery store. Whenever I travel, just want to see what's available, what people buy, how's everything look, and just kind of have a sense through the culture I am in.
Wow.
And then later on, I came to America on and off. I used to work for JW Camelbacking. It's an iconic resort in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, and then eventually I drifted to California. I worked a couple like very prestigious private clubs, and eventually I got to Napa Valley through that route, make my way up to north, and then about a year and a half ago we opened Tisza Bistro, and then we bring in this old world feeling, what I just described earlier, with try to merge it with the current wine country we can offer for us in here, the produce wise, and kind of translate it into a different meaning, a different cuisine.
Sure.
Rooted in our past.
I know you've done quite a bit of fine dining, and clearly it's evident from everything you've described that you have exceptionally curious mind, in addition to a stellar skill set. You and I had a short conversation prior to the taping that I would like to bring up, because I think it's fundamental to who you are. And that's the fact that you have experienced very early on what it's like to live frugally and what it's like to utilize everything. These days, a lot of chefs talk about cooking from nose to tail, and really utilizing every part of the animal and living from the land and taking it as far as they want. Foraging is a big deal. We discussed that. But to you, it's an integral part of who you are and your beginnings that I think played a huge role in forming your opinions of how to cook and what is the chef's point of view. And that is that acute awareness that you have to work with, that maybe all you have. You make the best, and you create the best value out of those ingredients. So I just want you to talk a bit about that, because I think, in the contemporary world and the way that things are, we have a lot of access to things. We're pretty spoiled as a society, but it's not like that everywhere, and it certainly wasn't the case for you.
Yeah, we always felt that there was great value to work when you're available. And plus, they always tasted the best. But we always cooked. Essentially, I think everything's come from where, like, I love to eat.
Yeah.
I just love to eat. I love to eat good food. And then it's getting harder and harder. You know, so as I mentioned earlier, I come from a very humble background in Hungary. So it was, always a good eat or some special treat was always the highlight. Many times I talk to my cooks, like, when we had, for example, when we had certain food, we had certain attached to certain holidays.
Sure.
So like Christmas was always duck. That's or like a special occasion when we had veal. Veal was something luxury. We talk about like a Windsor pizza made out of veal, but in a true everyday nature is never made out of veal. So in our life that was the highlight. That's made it magic these holidays. There was something we look forward to. Then I feel many of these younger cultures, not the younger cultures, but I feel it's missing out of our cultures.
Yes.
To looking forward to holiday. Christmas comes. That was filled with our food, and it's translated into some level of magic. So when I remember, like, I tell you a funny story, but it might be make curious from your listeners. But I remember when my grandma used to kill the goose. We have roasted goose. So Christmas that was something I remember, like a golden roasted goose, and we just can't wait. The kitchen full with the smell of the. And remember when she killed the goose, you cut the neck of the goose and you bleed them out. So when we were kids, my grandma used to get the blood of the goose, and then she sauteed onions, like when you kill the goose right away, and she collected the blood of the goose,
Sure.
and then she pan fried onions, and then you saute the blood with the onions,
Okay.
and then we for that was a treat for kids.
Wow.
So it
I
was
love that.
yeah.
Treat for kids.
So it meaning us, that it was really important for us to these holidays, and there was we have to grow certain appreciation to things,
Yeah.
and then it was not everyday commodities available for us. So that comes through our cuisine, and then those days was really, really marvelous.
Absolutely. I'm hearing a great deal of attachment, and I can almost picture in my mind what it was like.
Yeah.
We complain, and justly so, that our holidays became way too materialistic. We're looking forward to opening some boxes and not to talk to each other, not to wake up to this atmosphere of generosity and goodwill overflowing. And I think that's what it ought to be about.
Yeah, but I think it's the best to have it. It's sometimes like I'm getting older and older, can get away from these materialistic things. I feel like I need less and less. Only I need a couple good friends and a good meal to share with them.
Teachable moment.
And it's really what it is, and then what really makes me happy is like travel, see other people's culture, how they live, but really it's just I think food is tremendously connecting us.
Yes.
It's a common language, and then this is what we do here, just very simple cooking. Happiness,
Oh, yes.
food and eating is something, I always thought about what is food.
Yeah.
Food is home.
Food is home.
Food is happiness. Food is comfort.
Indeed.
Something you get away from the world and then warm your soul.
Yes. Those are not only beautiful words. You back it up. When I first ate in your restaurant, I couldn't wipe the smile off my face. And for context, I eat pretty well in my profession. And to experience something that was so authentic. It wasn't just a term. It really came from someplace deep within you. I believe I mentioned it was like having you on a plate, because it's not just a menu composed of dishes that are, well executed. It really showed me that, without knowing as detailed of a history as you just shared with us, thank you for that, that you came from a place where you wanted to feed people, and you wanted for people to be happy and to have this experience as if they're sitting in your kitchen and having a conversation. And that type of facilitating is rare. So I'm so thrilled that you're here and that you have this restaurant, because people that discover it, they become repeat clients instantaneously. And I could clearly see why. Because your menu is something that's absolutely craveable. Tell us more about it. Let's dig into how you've written the menu, why the dishes that are on it. How did you put it together?
The dishes, every dish on the menu has some sort of idea or story attached to it. They just not just grab from thin air. So I can tell every dish a little bit how they get here. So it's a little bit personal. I think it's very personal we put in the menu.
Great.
I have lots of traditional dishes which I've been cooking for a long time, and I really like to share with our guests, because that's why we are here to create and make you happy. I think that's why we are here. Like I love to see when guests leaves happy. Like last night we had a full restaurant, and it really has like just such a good vibe. Every table loved everything, and we serve these little cheese biscuits, for everyone. This kind of an amuse-bouche, or whatever you call it. It's made out of farmer's cheese, and literally it's my mother's recipe. I stole it from her. Because
so cool.
Because we try to get like first we come try to do some pretty rolls or something with like rosemary and sea salt and whatever, and then the baker was too flexible to do that, so just like okay, we have to come up with something. And we just whipped it out. We made like a farmer's cheese, and then just some everybody just like they want to take it home and they want to buy it more of that, and then
created a monster, and I have to keep making it.
Yeah, it is. And also we like to, of course, play around with the ingredients and different things. Like we had octopus, which is not Hungary, has nothing to do with Hungary. But I try to fuse them with the Hungarian ideas, like the Hungarian sausage in octopus. There's comes the idea from a lot of people serving with chorizo with octopus.
That's interesting.
So that's our translation, in that chorizo idea. Then also it's expand, because serving for the sauce grebish, because that's come from escoffier.
Yes.
So that the turn of a century, he made that basically as egg sauce. I always adorn escoffier, because all these styles and trends that rise and fall, but the escoffier is always he's whatever he brought to us is always still existing, and then it's timeless.
I can attest to the fact that when I met Krisztian for the first time back in Napa Valley, I walked into your office, and that's the first thing I saw. I saw a very well-worn tome by Escoffier with lots of notes and post-its, and you read that book many times. It was quite evident.
Yeah, I get a lot of critique. It's like they call me like a dinosaur, because we are looking to the modern cuisine, but I think we have to balance it a little bit. That's what I'm trying to do with this. So we have octopus, which is sous vide, an octopus, and it's cooked in a vacuum bag basically in a temperature controlled environment, and then it's served with a turn of a century sauce. So I just there's some of the experimental ideas. There's a couple other dishes. We have a spätzle. We made a spätzle, which is not necessarily German. We call them galushka. So there is Europe, Central Europe is kind of intervening and swirling into different cuisine, but somewhat they a little bit correlate to each other. Like there is no really borders of those cuisines. So we call it galushka. Then we have a translation of the American spätzle, but it's made out with a spätzle. And then we put mushroom in it and bacon and just really warm to the flavor and the smokiness, the cheese melting, with the cheeses. It's baked in a cast iron dish, it's really lovely. And then it also comes along with the Wiener Schnitzel, which is not a hot dog. Wiener Schnitzel is a cutlet of Vienna.
Yes.
And then we, as I mentioned earlier, it's traditionally made with veal, but the general household are made with pork or sometimes made with chicken, and then that's probably our biggest thing. So it's biggest item, most popular item in the menu, and then we took us a quite good amount of time to figure out the right, about 6 to 8 months, how to figure it out, how to make it really properly, because it's true the dish is pan fried. And then I remember like in Europe, some of the old cuisine have like a big flat top, and they have like a heavy cast iron dish sitting on that French top, and then they Wiener Schnitzel for like 20 minutes in like lard, the lard, forget about the lard that's what makes it real. The flavor, the butter and oil has no flavor, but the butter has butter. But the oil doesn't have the flavor, so they said, they cooked in lard, which is, Wiener Schnitzel eventually came across in a different culture. For a Japanese, they call them tonkatsu. They translate it, and then I used to live in Japan, so my times, where all the chefs they fry, and basically the real tonkatsu in Japan is fried in lard. Usually, every chef has their own blend of oil, like his own secret components, how many days, how many days they blend it together, just fried. But that's our biggest item, the Wiener Schnitzel. That's the most popular, and we try to get it as authentic as we can. But even some days, I find it's still hard. So something seems very simple, but then you delve into the details, and then all your expectations of yourself is fall apart because just you realize how many different ways you can go. Like if you look at it, try to perfect something, it just every little steps count. How you get to that product. So it's a good experience. So but definitely the Wiener Schnitzel is big, and then we do a couple of chicken dishes and wild mushroom cognac sauce, which I will cook it later.
I didn't warn you folks, it's a bit unfair. This episode was supposed to be getting to know Krisztian. But we got into food, and if you're hungry right now, this is really difficult because I had lunch, and listening to him describe how brilliant and flavor forward the dishes are, I'm starving. But what really is special about every single thing that I've ever tasted that was made by your hands is that in addition to just crazy delicious flavors, you feel like you're getting such a huge value. I mean, not only it's a very generous plate of food, but it's well priced, and you just want to keep eating, even when you're full. I've never really had that level of generosity in any other dining establishment.
I think it connects a little bit to our culture, how because we come from this humble background we talked about earlier. Exactly. So if my job, if you're your guest, to fill you up. Does that make sense?
It makes so much sense.
That's I have to satisfy you. I don't want you leave you unhappy or not full.
I don't think you could if you tried.
And then I think it's part of this, this idea how we try to please through generosity,
absolutely,
like good food, and then something every dish with a menu we personally love to eat. We cook it at home. We cherish it, and sometimes we do extra, but this comes full circle with our past.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. So there you have it. If you want to be happy and satisfied, head over to Tisza, and beware, it gets full really quickly. It's a very popular spot. In our next episode, Krisztian will teach us how to cook a really kick-ass chicken in cognac sauce. I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you for watching, and please send us questions for Krisztian.